We can start again, that'd be great.
Start all over?
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go. Welcome to the June CIC meeting. We're doing this for the second time. We will welcome Rita back. Rita Mills was on the CIC years ago. Now she's back. We did a roll call. All of the neighborhoods were here except for,
Two Rivers and Rivercrest.
okay, everyone's represented. We have Mike Brand here from Chamber to give a presentation. I was explaining that the Chamber and the Downtown Oregon City used to be voting members of the citizen involvement, but during one of our bylaws updates, we realized, hey, this should be a citizen council, so they were still members, they were just non-voting. They came and gave updates, and then over time, things just slipped away, and we used to have Public Works here once a month too. That was great because they always have something going on that people want to know about. So I would, not that we need once a month updates from Chamber, but I do think we need to get that back on track because there's lots of things that are going on that they can keep us posted. And so that's why I invited Mike here tonight. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, the opportunity to talk to you. My name is Michael Brand. I am the Executive Director of the Oregon City Chamber of Commerce, and we are celebrating our 110th anniversary this year. So we've been a part of this community, building this community for over a century. Now, I want to start off by saying that, you know, in the last 2 decades, you think about how our society and our economy has changed, right? Just, I mean, this what I'm having right in my hand, two decades ago wasn't there. So the rise of the digital economy and the portability of smartphones is really changing a lot about our economy and about our society. The Chamber of Commerce right now is in a process of rethinking what's it mean to be a Chamber of Commerce. So when you say Chamber of Commerce, you probably have this idea of what it's like as being like this, the main tourist center of town, like where people would coming in from out of town. We want information about the city. And then also as a business networking group for small businesses. That's going to change. So what the Chamber looked like in the past 2 decades, or the past 110 years, it's going to look really different 10 years from now. The Board of Directors is in a process of reimagining what the Chamber is and what's the value to the community. So I want to touch upon a little bit about what we're doing here in the Chamber right now and some of the new initiatives we're taking to actually keep this place really a vibrant economic area, and also a great place to live. One of the things that we've identified, or actually a couple things we've identified, we believe we should be the advocate for business and then also helping business grow. So we are morphing, evolving more into a business service organization to help provide our members actually ways to grow, right? Because when they grow, their profits grow, and when their profits grow, they hire more people and they pay more taxes and do all those things that are important to keep this place alive. So I want to touch upon a couple things that we're doing. We are partnered with the city and the city, the county, and Clackamas Community College with the Beaver Creek Employment Area. The lands around the community college, which are being developed right now and being marketed to attract high-end manufacturing to this area. It's a very, very attractive parcel or pieces of land because of its proximity to international markets, and then also its proximity to Clackamas Community College, because they need those facilities. If you're running a high-tech manufacturing, you need facilities to help keep your employees on the cutting edge. So that partnership's going to, so we're really looking forward to what that future will be like. On the other end, this city has a tremendous amount of solo entrepreneurs who are running their business off their kitchen table or out of their basement, because that's the way the economy's changing now, right? Because if you have just a high-speed internet access, you can do business from the world from your basement. And we want to encourage that. We want to provide services to help those individuals grow and expand that business, because when they do that, they have to hire CPAs, they have to hire lawyers, they have to use local services. So we want to help them grow. And we see that as an area that is not getting enough attention, but allows us to provide more value. We are also doing something with community leadership. So we've launched this year what's called the Next Leaders of Oregon City. It is a year-long community leadership program designed to help people get a 360-degree view of the city, from the economy, education, the environment, the arts, so that they have a holistic view of the city and are ready to take leadership. And I want to thank Tony Conkle. He was part of the program. He was one of our faculty, as we call faculty this year, him and the mayor, Dan Holliday. And the idea behind that is we want to be an incubator to help grow leaders. So in that, another thing we want to do is take the talent that we have here in Oregon City and elevate it so that it becomes more of a regional expertise, statewide expertise, national expertise. And we just partnered with the National Speakers Association to do a 9-month speaker academy, helping people develop a professional speaking business in conjunction with their regular business. Because when you're on stage behind the microphone, you get to be seen as an expert. And we have a lot of talent in this city. And we think there's a lot of people we can help elevate and move out so that they get more of a statewide or national profile. So that's one of those partnerships that we have. So we're trying to do that. We also run a women's solo entrepreneur group. You know, being a solo entrepreneur can be lonely. So we just create an environment where they can come together, do mutual support, business support for each other. You know? And that has grown. We started that off in our office. Within 3 months, we had to move it to the library because it had grown so large. And then 3 months after that, they had to move over to Thrive Yoga Place because it had grown so much after that. So, you know, it's obviously something we threw out there. There was a need. We are also involved in a couple of projects with the city. We host the annual State of the City. We actually say we organize it, where the mayor comes and addresses the community on accomplishments of the past year and vision for the future year. That's a great one, so we want to provide forums with that. We also do the City Walk, which is, we do this every fall. So we go and canvass a different section of the city each year, the businesses in those cities, just trying to unearth what are some of the emerging issues, what are some of the needs, how can we be of help, how can we help you grow, what's keeping you from making more money? And so we want to be that type of service organization to them. And then finally, we actually do run also what's called an Entrepreneur Academy. It's a mindset program. It's for people who have never considered the possibilities of entrepreneurship, either as a full-time endeavor or something as a side gig. The reason this is important is that family-sustaining wage work is on the decline in America, the changing economy. So what we want to do is help families, help households have multiple streams of income coming into their house. And the way to do that is to encourage entrepreneurship. So we're really fortunate to have support from Intel, Social Venture Partners. We piloted this program here in Oregon City in the past year. We're going to expand it in the coming year. So it's another way we help build the economy of Oregon City. So with that, that's a lot I just threw out for you guys, right? I can see you look in your eyes saying like, wow, all this stuff is going on, but we're going to continue to do more. We're going to continue to expand program because I said, we're really looking at what's our value proposition to the community. How do we help Oregon City grow economically? And then how do we help it be a vital place to live in supporting communities? So with that, I thank you for your time. I will entertain questions. Can I entertain questions?
Yeah. I have a couple right off the bat. Yeah, please.
Okay.
This entrepreneur, do you partner with the small business program that the county, I don't know if it's Clackamas Community College or the county that has it, the Harmony campus?
Small Business Development is a program, it's a federal program run through the state that's housed at Clackamas Community College. Yes, we do.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, Rob Campbell is part of our entrepreneurship faculty. It's also where in our academy, if somebody develops what they think is a workable idea, then we can pass them along to the Small Business Development Center for the nuts and bolts of how to put that together.
Great, because I know they're great.
Yep.
they're a great resource. And then secondly, how do you get the word out about your programs?
Ooh. Well, we have 320 member organizations covering about 10,000 employees in this city. So we have a pretty large network, and we use that a lot. As you may be aware, we're also have a high presence on social media. We do some regular media advertising, although that doesn't seem to be as effective as much anymore. And then a lot of it is just the network effects, people talking to each other. And that's how really how you grow the program, with a personal referral.
Right. I just wondered if somebody was just thinking about coming up with a business, they might not have that network yet. How would they know that that's even an option out there?
That's what we're here for. You know, that's what the chamber is.
But how do they know? How can we help get that word out, or how are you getting that word out?
Actually, that's a good question, because how would you suggest that? What's the best way you could help us?
Yeah. Thoughts? I mean, I know we all have neighborhood meetings. Some of our neighborhoods have email chains and that's why I think it would be great to have a relationship where you come to the CIC frequently, that we can, and then we pass it on to the members and hit them from all angles.
Yeah, I would be glad to do that. You know, because once again, like I said, it's part of the making this place vital, vibrant. So yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, other questions, Rita?
Yeah, the location of Chamber of Commerce is a lovely building, but I don't know if people know where it is or not. I was up there just a couple weeks ago and picked up some materials because we were having a meeting in our church, and we have wonderful materials that the chamber passes out for visitors, but we need to all be aware of what they say. I mean, I can copy for myself, but I mean, I know about Oregon City. We all know about Oregon City, but it's nice to have something like that to share with visitors. And, you know, I don't know if people really know where the chamber office is.
That's a really good point, and that's something that we're talking about at the board level right now, is our visibility. We're up at the corner of Fur and Beaver Creek, right across from where Coin Toss Brewing is, and we're in that kind of generic office building. It's functional and great parking, but you're right, it's not in the center, the heart of the city. You know? And we don't get a lot of drop-in traffic anymore, because that's actually also a change because of digital technologies. Most people gather that information online before they come to Oregon City. So we get maybe 3 or 4 people a month walking in asking for a map or where to go, what to do. So that's changing. But you're right, our visibility is an issue that we actually are grappling with right now. Yeah.
So do you
Which
have
is
city
hard
maps?
because of, retail space or office space is really expensive. It's getting really, really expensive around here. And it's also getting very competitive. So, yeah.
So you have city maps?
Oh, yes, yes. We actually, we produce our own maps.
Other questions? Everybody knows everything about the chamber. Great.
Does the city office have materials from the chamber all the time for comers and goers?
Yes, yes. Yeah. And I did bring some stuff here. We publish a yearly magazine, Oregon City Around Town, which, and we also do some other information stuff. So I did bring some stuff I could leave with the committee if you would like that. Yeah.
Oregon City News does a pretty good job with local news, too. And I just want everybody to know about it, but I want Tom to call. I want him to come and look.
Yeah. All right. Did
Other
you have
questions?
something, John? Okay, well, thank you.
Your time.
Thank you. All right, next up we have Public Works. Josh Wheeler will introduce, talking about the 5-year pavement maintenance plan. Josh is our Assistant City Engineer, if you haven't met Josh yet.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight we're going to talk about the 5-year pavement maintenance plan, give you a little bit of history if you have not heard about it before, and then what we did to plan for the next 5 years. I'm introducing Gabe Kropp. He's a professional engineer with the firm Murray Smith, and they're the ones that did the plan for us. Go for it.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah, so we've been working with the city over the last 6 months or so on this current plan. We actually had a chance to worked with several staff. Josh was the most instrumental. And we came here today to give you a little bit of an update of what to anticipate for the next 5 years for paving in Oregon City. So for those of you who may not have a complete history of how we got to doing this plan, back in 2008 is when the transportation utility fee was established. And since that time, was a phase-in process. The city started doing some projects with some of the funding that came from that transportation utility fee. And they slowly started increasing in size as funding started kicking in. We actually worked with the city back in 2012 to develop the first pavement maintenance plan at that time, which kind of guided at a higher level the ongoing projects that could be done with the fee. And in 2015, we did an update to the plan, and then here most recently in 2019, kind of for the third go around, we did a new plan. So this is a fresh look at what to expect here for the next several years. So what is PMUF? Again, several of you may already be very familiar with what this is, so I may be telling you something that you may already know, but a lot of this is also on the city website for more detail, but wanted to provide at least a quick background so everybody's kind of on the same page. So the Pavement Maintenance Utility Fund is where the transportation utility fee goes as it's collected. And so what that does is it provides some supplemental funding for street maintenance in addition to other funds that the city receives. And over time, it's been a really vital piece of the funding puzzle to really help supplement the dwindling effect of the federal and state dollars. And so it's been really important to maintain streets here in Oregon City. So those fees are collected based on trips, both residences and businesses in town. There's a whole structure vehicle trips. So it's so each resident and each business in town gets charged a fee based on how many vehicle trips that they generate, either from their residence or from the business as a whole. So there's a whole structure.
That's how you came up with the $10 or whatever, 15 or 30 or whatever we pay. Okay.
Yeah, that's what a single-family residence would have, but then businesses have a larger fee.
Okay. This makes it sound like you counted how many trips, and I'm different from Steve, and I'm so.
Oh,
okay.
sorry. Not specifically, on average.
Gotcha. Thank you.
And so those funds are used for regular rehabilitation and preventive maintenance throughout the town each year that the city does projects. So their overall goal is to try to keep the streets as good as we can by using those dollars as best we can for that infrastructure investment. So here's where we are today. The map here on the left-hand side is a color-coded map showing the relative pavement condition index of each street in the city. So pavement condition index, or PCI, is a rating scale, 0 to 100, 0 being poor, basically a failed street, and 100 being a freshly paved brand new street. And so the green essentially represents the good streets, and so you can see a lot of those, which is good, but you also see that there are some that are more on the yellow, orange, and red scale, which are the ones that do need work to be able to be brought up on that scale. To also have the table there on the right-hand side telling the story of how the PCI has changed over the last several years. And so it's a positive story, we think, to show. It was at a 60 back in 2011, and we're up to 75 today. So that's a pretty significant increase. There's a few things you might notice as you look and squint a little bit harder at the numbers. You'll see a couple of significant increases there, one in 2013, another one there in 2016. There's a few reasons why that can happen. One is new streets that get added to the system can have an effect on the overall average. And so as development happens and new streets come in, that can be one of those effects. Also, there's been more funding that's been applied to some of the streets over the last several years just due to the growth of the city. So the growth can be a good thing when it results in additional revenue, and that can be put towards the street network as well. So those are some of the reasons. But overall, the conditions looking pretty good right now in Oregon City. So why do we need a plan? Basically because we want to be good stewards of the PMUF and continue to make sure that we're using the funds to apply to the right treatment at the right time to kind of meet the community needs going forward. I always like to show this graph whenever I talk about pavement management. It's kind of a nice overall explanation of what can happen and why we do what we do. So the general takeaway from this graph is that as you wait, if you wait until a pavement fails to replace it, it costs quite a bit more than if you try to keep it good and maintain it there. It's not a linear path. It drops off pretty quickly, and it takes exponentially more dollars to be able to rehabilitate that road comparatively. So in addition to just having nice streets, it's also a fiscally responsible way to try to keep the good streets good. So what's in our pavement maintenance plan? There's several things that we want to accomplish through the plan each time that we go through it. One, we want to learn from past work. So there's things that we can always learn, and we want to continue doing that. So the plan will include some of those lessons learned from the past. It also includes funding projections, how much money we think is coming in through the PMUF, through that transportation utility fee, and that's kind of a basis of what we think we can accomplish with paving over the next several years. We also want to make sure we look at all the different options for rehabilitating the roads and the preventive maintenance treatments. So there's kind of two different categories of what we do with our treatments. The rehabilitation side would cover overlays, grind and inlays, full depth reconstruction, things that physically alter the road, and those are the most expensive treatments that we do. But then there's the preventative maintenance treatments as well. Those are more like surface treatments, things like slurry seals, crack sealing. Those are the cheaper solutions and the ones that we try to use whenever possible to keep those good streets good. In our plan, we also want to coordinate with other projects. So part of being good stewards is making sure that we're not cutting into streets, if at all possible, after we pave, and thinking about utilities and the needs of those and coordinating those needs as well. Ultimately, we want to establish a project list over the next several years. So each year, there's a list of streets that we think are doable based on the funding. And then also, we can use it as a communication tool, kind of doing what we're doing with you here today, getting word out about what we're doing with those dollars. So here is the finished product, and these are a little bit hard to see. We've got full roll plots of these that are available, and this will actually be on the website, I think, at some point here soon as well. But this is kind of the fruit of our labor. So on the left-hand side, we have a map representing the rehabilitation streets. So those are color-coded by year, so each year represents each color represents a different year. And kind of the same idea on the right-hand side, the preventive maintenance list, kind of organized by year as well. So these are working lists or working maps. So these aren't necessarily set in stone, but there's been a lot of thought put into these, and it's what city staff will use on an annual basis as they go in and check it to make sure that these streets are still the right ones to do. So the planning process. So the first thing that we do as part of our planning process to get there is to review the past work, again, looking at those lessons learned. And then we do a cost analysis where we look at bid results over the last several years. And we use that to update costs and what we think is reasonable to achieve over the next several years. Then we start focusing first on the rehabilitation project list. That's where the majority of the money goes. It's also the list that has the most potential impacts to the public and also coordination needs with other projects. So we do this through a series of workshops, and this is where it becomes a real group effort with Josh and several staff in multiple departments and multiple levels here at the city. And so we look at a lot of different things through those workshops. We look first at street needs. So we use a program called Street Saver. It is a database of all of the different streets and the conditions, but it's also a program that we use to run scenarios for what we think we can accomplish with the funding that we have. But then when we get with city staff, we'll compare that with their knowledge of the system. So Public Works has a lot of good hands-on experience, knows where the issues are, and we compare that with what the program is telling us. We also look at overlapping utility projects, so things like water projects, sewer projects, there's a lot of those other things that are going on in town. We try to coordinate the paving to go with those at the right time. Also, development timelines is another item. So there's a lot of development happening in town. We want to make sure we're coordinating paving work such that we're not paving a street right before a developer might come in and do an expansion, if at all possible. So that's an ongoing thing we try to track. And ultimately, we come up with this plan document, like I said, is a working list that city staff feels comfortable using to kind of guide the annual work. And this is a table kind of showing what the future of the PMUF is based on the current funding. So this table paints maybe a little bit different picture than what we showed earlier in the presentation where the PCI went up. And so what this shows is that based on the current funding and looking at only the existing street network, that the PCI could potentially drop a couple of points based on the current funding. There's a little bit of deferred maintenance that's still there, and that would also potentially increase. And so these are just some of the things that we have to be careful of. There are other projects that can happen. As we saw, there's growth that can happen. There's other things that can influence the PCI quite a bit, well beyond just the dollars that are in the PMUF. But based strictly on those dollars, this could be the result. That said, the PMUF has been really, really important. If we didn't have it at all, you would see a really significant drop off. We'd be dropping, probably a couple points a year. So it's a very important and vital element to what the city has been able to accomplish so far. So overall, those are the results, and others have questions for Josh or I'd glad to answer them.
Yeah, and this presentation, as well as the report itself, as well as those maps that were in there, will all be, they're not yet, but they will be on the city's website for the next 5 years. So.
Right. Two questions, actually. First one, on that map you showed with the rehabilitation and I'm sorry, my eyes are too little to read it. The years next to the colored line, is that when they're going to be worked on, or was that when they were last? I can't read
That's
it.
when they'll be worked on, so 2020 through 2024.
Okay.
And again, those are guidelines.
Right.
Just because a line is red and says 2020 doesn't mean we will officially for sure do it next year, but it's what we plan to
That's the
do
plan, right.
unless
Okay.
things change.
Yeah, sorry, I just couldn't read it. Second question, we get in Oregon City, from my understanding, what I see, a lot of pass-through traffic, especially coming up Malala and all that. Is there any way of capturing any funding from just the pass-through vehicles?
At this point, not that I'm aware of. I know the PMUF takes property ownership in place. We also get gas tax, which we don't use for PMUF, we use for the bigger projects, but that's based on a per capita basis, which is based on population. And then there's this potential vehicle registration fee that may occur through the county that we will get some back on, but that then is still locally saying the residents here, that's what our share would be. So yeah, I've never seen, and I've worked in other areas of the state, I've never seen an area where they're able to capture the pass-through traffic, except for the coast, which the coast has a gas tax fee they put on just during the summer to get tourists, but that's a little bit unique. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Steve?
So I was noticing there's a lot of overlap between the rehabilitation and preventive maintenance. So like Holcomb, in the same year, there's schedule for both rehabilitation and preventive maintenance. How does that work?
So one thing on Holcomb, it's a little misleading because of the size of the picture. That's tan color is actually showing that it's a TriMet bus route. It's actually not one of the years. It actually has no work planned to be done on it. So I don't think there's overlap.
It's a different color.
It's a different color, yeah. But good catch though.
Oh.
Way to keep us on our toes.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good catch. But, and then you see like on Beaver Creek Road in the Red Soils campus, you'll see brown on the rehabilitation one and preventative maintenance, you see green. And that's because I think Beaver Creek Road, right? Yeah. The green is the preventive maintenance that will be done in 2023-ish, but there is no rehabilitation work being done. So,
Again, that's the bus line.
correct.
So are you saying that if this vehicle countywide goes through, none of that will be put to the pavement maintenance? Is that what you said?
It hasn't been determined yet how we would use those funds.
Okay. What about, sorry, I don't know what the microphones are being weird, but when you get SDCs, system development charges from new developments, do you ever use those to do some of the pavement maintenance in that area?
No, system development charges have to be used specifically for projects that are on the SDC eligible list. And those are typically capital projects, which means a substantial project such as a roundabout at Lynn and Warner Parrott, such as the Malala project, such as the Myers Road project. That's where those SDCs get in place. They go for those much larger type projects.
So the fact that big trucks are coming through and tearing up the roads, you don't have any way to recoup that.
No, that's what the PMUF is for. Yeah,
That doesn't seem like it's fair to the other.
yeah. The only way to change how that money is used is for a new list to be adopted by the city commission for SDCs, which is quite a lengthy process because there's a whole planning process involved in all that. But that's the way it's currently done.
But the SDC capital list has to add capacity.
Right.
So it's the same, it's
Yeah,
probably a discussion we've had with parks, system development charges, or water system. It can't be used for maintenance or replacement.
Well, I understand, but
That's-
say you're building a whole bunch of homes off of Central Point and Central Point is now torn up because you had, and Pease Road, all those trucks coming in there. So you are adding capacity in that those developments will have more houses, right?
That's-
But you have to add
Adding
new capacity?
transportation capacity would be adding a new lane, adding a light. More trips are not adding capacity to the system. They're taking up capacity in the system.
So that, it just feels like if you're proposing developments, that's one of the reasons why the index is gonna go down. Yeah, it's not gonna go up.
When,
Sure, the roads in that development will be good, but all the roads leading up to it, a lot of times you see deteriorate, which can cause the number to go down.
And state law is what determines what we're allowed to use on SDC too. So that's where a lot of that comes from.
Sure.
I think the idea is those new homes that first month, they'll start paying PMUF too. So that's,
Right.
and so in some sense, their streets don't need to be improved for a very long time. So their PMUF money is
Yeah,
going to
but
other
those-
places.
Yeah, but those, 20 houses aren't gonna make enough to pay for the road. Just questioning, just questioning. Okay, Linda and then Vern? I didn't see first.
Can you go back to the last slide? I think the one that,
Which one do you? The very last one.
the very last,
There you go.
that one right there, I think. Just a quick look at that. It tells me that PCI is going down over the next 5 years. And this is for maintenance only, as I understand it, the maintenance project. The deferred maintenance is going up.
Sure.
So the point must come when we're throwing more money at it, but we would hope that we can make that curve and go back the other direction. Is that a 10-year curve or expectation that we will meet the crossover point that both PCI goes up and maintenance dollars may hold steady or reduce a little bit?
So one thing that we look at early on in the cost analysis is these sorts of things of, are we charging the correct fee to be able to keep up with the maintenance that's out there? And then we have to make an assessment, is it appropriate to raise the fee, or are we close enough to even? What we determined was, we feel we're close enough to even right now, even though this is based purely on the existing road system as it is. If we didn't add roads to the system or have some special funding that came through, this is what would happen. Is this exactly what will happen? Probably not. That would probably stay a little flatline, probably, is our guess. But if it does go down, and then our next projection in 5 years shows it going down again, that's when you'll probably hear Public Works talking about a special raise for the PMUF fee, because it's going in the wrong direction. Right now, even though that doesn't look great, that's a very wild projection based on the information we have, but based on some non-numerical facts, we think that it's probably going to stay stable.
And the other point, kind of towards what I'm not trying to paraphrase Amy's question of, when you build a large quantity of new homes that weren't here in 2019 or 2010, whenever it started, those new homes start contributing that I don't even
That's
know what
correct.
the number is now, but per household, per
Correct.
month, they're throwing in to the pavement maintenance fee that you're getting a bigger base paying off.
That is correct.
Okay.
Linda?
How do you notify or keep track of new construction at the same time that you're having the streets redone? I know on one of our streets in Kenema, 4th, we have a development that's coming in, and we're also scheduled for repaving that. Are they going, I mean, how is that all coordinated? Before this is
So it's through
connected,
a number of people. Currently, I happen to be the lead person on that. But we just coordinate with all the departments. So like what we did in this process was, I have to be over development as well. So I know what development is occurring or planned to occur as far as we know, which you can only see about 12 to 24 months out. And then talk to our roads manager, and he knows what he's planning based on this. Talk to our water manager, he knows what water work needs to be done. We talk to our sewer manager, he knows what work needs to be done. We all get in the same room together and talk about what we plan for the next 12 months. But then we also look at deferred maintenance, we look at breaks in the water main, we look at all those different criteria to figure out what makes a lot of sense. And for example, on 4th Street, we know that that development is occurring, we know about what their timeline is, and so what we're planning on doing is trying to delay the work that Jason, the roads manager, is going to do once that development is almost complete. So, yeah, but sometimes those work out, sometimes they don't, but you try and minimize the conflict as much as possible.
Great. And Rachel?
So I have a quick question. So when we have a series of winter storms and we do de-icing and whatever, and it tends to really beat up our pavement, how does that winter storm occurrence in one particular year affect the pavement and the projects that are selected? Does that paving come out of this project, and does that mess with the projects on the list, or is that different funding, or what?
Yes.
All of the above?
So, to be more specific, you're correct that a winter storm, whether it be snow and ice, whether it be a deluge of water, is going to deteriorate roads more quickly. And that's why we make the disclaimer as many times as we can, that we have these maps, they are not set in concrete, because something could change. And all of a sudden, Gaffney Lane was in awesome condition, and then dropped like a rock because of some flooding problem that washed it out. You know, oh, we're gonna switch the funds to there, but there aren't a different set of funds, except if it's a substantial storm and it's declared an emergency and we get FEMA emergency funds, then we can use that to reimburse us for our issues there. So, but that's pretty rare in this region. but-
Hopefully rare.
Yeah,
in
hopefully
Oregon
rare,
City,
yeah.
right? I mean,
But yeah, mostly we just say, okay, we're not gonna do Caulfield Lane, we're gonna do Gaffney instead. Yeah. Hopefully not.
I know, I
Either.
don't want to hear the Caulfield Hill.
Yeah.
They already want their road done.
I know, and it's a county road right
I
now.
know.
Yeah.
I know.
Do you guys
And-
know, how does 74, 71 PCI compare in the region?
Gabe knows that. Oh, it
Good
was.
question,
Yeah, you'd be surprised at how much the PCI changes from agency to agency, and it has a lot to do with which agencies have something like a FEMA set up for it. I'll say from what I've seen, I think it's better than average for most agencies. So it was not that way when we first started here back in 2012.
But we're not the highest.
Not the highest, I
Because
think.
he's done a lot of these studies.
Yeah, I think the ultimate goal would be about an 80 to 84. In that range is where I think most pavement managers would love to see the average be. But that's tough to achieve sometimes.
And a lot of where we're at today can really be thanks to, previous public works director, previous engineer, current director, Matt Powelson, the previous road manager, I mean, that was all a baby of theirs that got us to where we are today, and now we're able to just take it and keep it going, so.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. It's gotten so much better since the PMUP went. Definitely agree.
So quick question, for residents, I've seen a few who've made complaints, but very general complaints about pavement quality or whatever in the city. Where should we direct those folks to outside of like reporting a pothole kind of thing? Like if they have a road that clearly maybe they feel like is off of our radar, or who should they talk to?
Yeah, I would say one and two people. Jason Thornburg, the roads manager, because he's the one that's gonna be looking at that day to day and then making decisions on the preventative maintenance. And then secondly, it would be me, because I'm now running the road program. So we actually just got one of those concerns about 2 weeks ago. And so I relayed that information to Jason, and now we're both aware of it.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, any questions? Thank you. Thank you. Oh, slide it to the little flip switch.
Okay, I'm gonna turn this off, so it's gonna be a loud sound for just a second.
Right here, Rita. See where this paper says? There's a
Oh.
little metal thing behind it. If you go to the left, that's where pictures were. To the right is
And where,
on here. Okay. Next, public comment. We have any public comments tonight? Seeing none? Our next staff liaison update. Christina.
All right, I have a couple pieces. Attached in the staff report, 2 items. I have the CIC list of people who signed up last meeting to attend this National Night Out booth. So we would love to have 1 or 2 more people, so take a look at that list and see if we can add your name. Also, I sent out a list of CIC members who were willing to go to other neighborhood associations meetings to listen, involve, be supportive. I have some of you all signed up, so take a look at that PDF attached. If you are not signed up, find a meeting and email me and I will add you to the list and send an update. If you're a neighborhood association and I have the wrong date, it's because you have the wrong date on your website. So please send me any changes to your dates and I will update that.
Wrong dates on
The city website.
your page of the city's website. Let's
Correct.
clarify.
There was some conversations at the last meeting about neighborhood association meeting locations and some of the problems that have been happening for neighborhood associations working to find locations. And I know our managers have been working hard to try to see what the city can do to support that. There are 2 places that the city has identified that can hold meetings in the evenings for free. I will send this in an updated email to the group, but that's the Pioneer Center during weekday evenings. In the basement, I believe, is the one, and I think you have to get a key, so I'll send you Jessica Spencer's email to coordinate that. And the Oregon City Pool, the bonus room that's in the pool. So that, the pool is weekday evenings from 6 to 9 p.m. And so the same thing, you'll want to schedule, have your weekly meeting, your monthly meeting or bi-monthly, whatever it is, and have it as a scheduled event. And I will send you Rochelle's information for the pool. So look for an updated email from me with those 2 contact informations. And so those are 2 city facilities that you can use for your neighbor association meetings in the evenings. If you cannot find a location closer in your neighborhood, we have those available for all neighborhoods.
And I would just add, so, I know McLaughlin's been using the library. Library Director Cole has been staying after to staff those meetings. When we lost our representative from the police department that was helping out Kenema at their location, they talked about going to the library. So my understanding is that the library, that Mo is working with Kenema Neighborhood Association for their remainder of their meetings throughout the year. She is taking this to the library board for a discussion about how do we address that? Because, obviously we have an overtime staffing issue after the library is closed. The other thing we're potentially looking at is there a way to find that access into that facility that would maybe facilitate a little bit easier ability to hold meetings in there. It's a little inconvenient coming through the slider doors when you can't see when you're in the community room who's coming in and out and into those washrooms. So there may be a way to reconfigure that, but that's something down the road. So we did get together, and as Christina mentioned, you know, the Pioneer Center, the Oregon City Pool are both available to all neighborhood associations, but you do need to take the initiative to contact them, get on the calendar, and get the access squared away. So these are available, these are resources, they are for free for the neighborhood associations, but you do need to do a little bit of upfront work to make sure that those are available. So a work in progress, but those two rooms are ready to be used.
Thank you, Tony. And I'm going forward, just on the same topic, like to encourage as we're looking at the police station, I know that's come up, and Public Works, I don't know if that'll be, but these are great, but they're down here. And so for Caulfield and for Gaffney Lane and some of the others, it's a harder for sometimes to get people to come farther. So moving forward, it'd be great if we could add to this list. Because if we always ask the people to come down here, then, yeah. So, okay, Christina?
I think you have a question.
The library has contacted Kenema, and we will be meeting at the library until the end of the year. And they were having a library meeting June 12th at 7, and they will be deciding the policies about what they're going to do for the end of the year. And that will probably affect us and McLaughlin if they're going to say yes or no, or will we look for elsewhere. We had looked at Pioneer Center, but that made, they didn't have availability for the night that we met. So we would have to change our bylaws. And we had a huge boo-hoo over.
Oh, cool.
Oh, God, I don't want to go down.
I remember.
But, we'll
Swimming pool, maybe.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'll get everyone that contact information most likely tomorrow. The next thing I just received from Clackamas Fire District Number 1, the Health and Safety Fair. I know we've been talking about the National Night Out. Maybe at the work item that talks about National Night Out, we can have this conversation about Safety Fair. I'm gonna pass the little flyer that I received. If you can send it back to me when we're done with the evening. Let's see. I also just sent an email to you maybe about an hour ago that kind of provided all the June events that are happening. Kristen Bound passes off through social media. Please feel free to forward that, of course, to any of your email lists, just kind of all the happenings that are going on in June.
Who does that go to? Who do you send that to?
I send that to all the CIC members and all the neighborhood association contact lists that I have on, basically, if you have an email if there's an email on a neighborhood association website, that's on my BCC list.
Okay.
Let's see, I was gonna promise minutes for CIC this evening, and I apologize because there was miscommunication where they were located on the server. I now know where they are. So I'll be able to get more minutes to you in the next meeting. The PEMA PowerPoint presentation, I'll be able to provide that to you as well. And I can also include email addresses for Jason Thornburg and Josh Wheeler. So you can pass on to your organization. These are the people you want to talk to about street maintenance issue, kind of above and beyond report a pothole. And I think that's all I have right now. So as we move on this evening, I'll confirm with Amy what anything else I want to pass on for June.
Great. And I know that one neighborhood, I don't know, is the corner of Hartlow and Central Point, is that Tower Vista or is that Westlake? Do you know, at that corner? There was a issue with site visibility, and it was a big hot topic, and they got a hold of Jason and got it taken care of. It was a great experience. So that is a great contact to have. He will get things done.
Okay.
So, good to know. Okay, moving on. National Night Out. Okay. Where are we with that? So I'm still confused as far as what they want the neighborhoods to do. Still don't think we have an answer on that. They say that they're welcoming any neighborhoods, but what do they want us to do? Just come and say, welcome to the neighborhood, or to have an activity? What are they looking for?
I think you can contact the police directly. I think what I heard, so I'm playing a little telephone game, but what I heard was they wanted to lessen the number of kind of non-community groups, lessen the commercial groups, and so they wanted to reach out to more community organizations. And neighborhoods are just one of the many additional community organizations they're reaching out to. So if a neighborhood association wants to have their own booth, they are encouraging them, but if a neighborhood association does not have the ability to put a booth together, that's fine too. And I think the CIC's booth is kind of the overarching, hey, this is our neighborhood association program, you know, here's our map, you can, you know, do you know where your neighborhood is? Oh, look, you're McLaughlin, they have a booth. Oh, you're Park Place, they don't have a booth, maybe you do. Oh, they don't have a booth tonight, here's more information. So that, I think that's a way to, that, where our role is compared to what the police department is looking at, to try to reach out to more community organizations rather than businesses.
And I understand that, and we've said that every month, but that still doesn't clarify what they're asking for the neighborhoods. And so what I don't want to have every neighborhood go to reach out to the police, so could we put that on a follow-up, that you just let the police know that as neighborhoods, we don't know what they're wanting from us? And then they can reach back to us as, because we shouldn't all have to get a hold of them. Okay, then as far as the CIC that night, I think Faith Leaf, for any of you that remember her, she was like the epitome of what we want to see at National Night Out when people are walking by. And you don't have to do what she did. She would like run out, you know, like the people at the mall that have the little stands in between and they're like almost grabbing you, so you're afraid to make eye contact. We don't want to be that scary, but we want to engage the people. And so she was great. And so I just wrote down, as one of the attachments, Christine was looking for kind of a script. And this is just basically what she taught us to do. And we would just ask them, do you live in Oregon City? And that's one of the questions when we talk about booths other places at the safety fair and at the farmer's market. We found that there was a small minority that came from Oregon City, it seemed, at the time. But that was years ago. It's time to revisit that. But so we just asked, are you from Oregon City? If they said yes, we would say, do you know what neighborhood you live in? You know, do you know? And they'll say, what? 9 times out of 10, they'll say, what are you talking about? And so if they know, you ask them which one, do you attend the meetings? You know, you can have a dialogue of that direction. If they don't live in Oregon City, you just thank them for their time. And if they don't know which neighborhood, then let's say, hey, let's find your house on this map. And we have the big map and you find their house. And then we have a flyer that Christina's been working on, and she's in the middle of still updating. But this flyer, basically, on the back, it explains that the city has 12 neighborhoods, that we have a citizen involvement committee. And then inside has each neighborhood, who the contact is, and where their meetings are and when. And so what we would do is we would have a pen, found out which neighborhood, we'd say, oh, you live in Park Place, and we'd circle Park Place and say, they meet da-da-da, da-da-da, and hand it to them. And it was as simple as that. So it takes 3 or 4 people to be there to make it, to be really involved. Because if you just have 2, especially if we have things we're handing out, I don't know if we've talked about that. I can get access to, in the past, I've been able to provide a bunch of scented markers, and the kids love those crazy scented markers. I can get a bunch of those again. So that's kind of what we've done in the past for National Night Out. Anything else you can think of about that?
No, it sounds like what I've done, so.
Yeah.
Just, hello, how you doing? Do you live around here? And we'll show in what neighborhood and hand them a flyer.
One year we did we kept a tally. And when we figured out what neighborhood, we tallied it up. And it was fun to see at the end. And then we brought it back to the CIC and said, oh, we had so many from this neighborhood and this neighborhood and this neighborhood. And that was fun. Vern?
And probably everybody's aware of it, but be prepared when they say, I don't live in a neighborhood, I live in a homeowners association.
Mm-hmm. Or no, they'll say, well, we don't have a homeowners association. Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts on talking to the people? So I hope that you'll consider being able to go to that. Okay, that was 5A. Then we move to 5B, which is our work plan. So the last couple times when we've talked about our work plan, it's been deer in the headlights, and I think we all kind of think, you know, we thought we would have these little subcommittees, and I myself am guilty of not getting ours going too. And I don't know if that's because of lack of excitement over what we thought we were going to do, or I don't know what the reason, but it seems like every month when we're talking about this, we're at the same standstill. So I had a couple thoughts. And I wanted to see if we thought, first of all, do we still want to continue to do those little mini groups? Do we need to revisit that? We had talked, there was one about the, being in charge of like the events, the National Night Outs and any other event we might want to be in. I think Roy was looking, did you ever get anybody to help, say they'd help you?
Well, Steve had offered to help me with the farmer's market one, but I haven't given him anything to work with yet, so.
Okay.
I've got an email from Christina, I think, with the lady's name I'm supposed to contact over there. But I have no excuses, I've just been so busy.
I know.
will get it done this week and report back to Christina with what I can do for days out there.
Okay. And then the group that I was, supposed to be leading about getting information to having handouts at various spots. I think one of my reasons of not getting excited is if this is what we're gonna have there, I don't know that that's gonna do anything. And I think that's been one of my biggest hangups, is that I think maybe I feel we need to have something planned as a better handout before I go reaching out to see if we can have a handout. But that's just my opinion. Vern, you were gonna be on that committee. Did you have thoughts about why we haven't done anything? Weren't you on that committee with me?
Yeah.
Other than just waiting for me to do it?
We got winning to get us all together.
Yeah.
And that, the point that comes up on that one is, is that the one you're leading towards speakers, lining up speakers, or is it?
No, this is just setting up different places like we had talked about at the elevator, maybe the swimming pool, maybe the library, having a static display where people could grab something to promote neighborhoods and I don't know, I don't know if this is enough, or if it's, question. Denise.
What information is inside?
So on the front is a map of all the neighborhoods of the 12 neighborhoods in Oregon City. On the back, it explains what that there are 12 neighborhood associations in the city. Hold on, let me put the glasses back on. And that kind of, it just briefly talks about a little bit about a neighborhood association. And then it talks about the Citizen Involvement Committee and what that is. And there's Christina's contact on the back for information about the Citizen Involvement Committee. And then inside is just a list of each neighborhood association, where they meet, when they meet, and who the contacts are for that neighborhood.
Is that the same list that we have?
But yes, that's where
Update
that's where
ours.
Christina will pulls the information from.
Now, are you
Rita?
talking about one booth that's, are you still talking about that night out or?
No, this is different. So we've talked about, we're still trying to just get some more people at National Night Out, but I think we're set that we know we're going there. And this is a good thing for there because you're grabbing people, you're talking about it, you're circling it, it's interactive, and it can be really helpful. But now what I'm talking about, we had talked about putting up just like a holder at the library or at the pool or at the elevator, places where we thought people go.
A Chamber of Commerce would do.
That Chamber of Commerce, and just have flyers that people could grab that, I mean, I do like this, get involved, meet your neighbors, learn what's happening. I mean, that's a great grab your attention. I didn't know if this was if that's all it says and then you have just this information, I didn't know if that's
It
enough to
might be
draw
nice
anybody
to
or something.
Put some accomplishments that neighborhoods have been a part of. That might get people more interested.
Accomplishments. I was thinking too, if we had photos, people are really visual. That's why I like this. It grabs
People
your
like to
attention.
know about school areas. That'll course, if they already live here, then it's too late.
So that's what we are talking about is, does anybody else have any thoughts about a flyer or a handout?
A place to put them might be in the library.
Yeah,
They
that's
have
on our
a little
list.
theirs. And maybe if you're doing photos, maybe you could have something that every group has done, every community's done, like a community project that you've done, showing this is what we do. We've done.
You could put them at the schools also.
Okay.
What Linda said is what I was thinking too.
Question over there.
You know where I would think the most would be is the impact the neighborhood associations have for the community. And also, I think a helpful introduction I was part of Jennings Lodge Candy Lane PTA, is introducing ourselves to the PTAs or the PTSOs so that that's where the communities, the parents want to know how they can affect their community, so.
I agree. Okay. So we'll work on that, Vernon. I think Dennis is our other partner in crime, though.
I was gonna ask committee too.
Are we on that too,
We're
Jim?
reading to find out.
I know, I'm sorry, it's,
Not your problem. I didn't want to know where we're going with
Okay.
that, so I heard something.
we haven't gone anywhere, that's the problem. And then the other committee was the one Vern was going to be heading up. And that was, we were talking about, do we want to combine groups at times? Do we want to engage speakers that might, you might not want to invite there's only going to be 12 people there, but if you had 2 or 3 neighborhoods and maybe you could get 30 or 50 people there, that might be a better venue. I think that was what
That
you
was-
were.
That was the one I was thinking you were on. And that one's, I think there's some ideas that have been floated around, but I don't know that we've got a committee together to look.
I've personally, as Gaffney Lane, I've reached out to a couple neighborhoods I want to know if we could, to the chairs, to see if we could combine meetings, and we've gotten resistance because we have different nights and different locations. So, random thought, this is just me, as Gaffney Lane chair, maybe we sponsor a meet, not really an official meeting, but we sponsor a topic that's for a community meeting,
The topic, yeah, like if ODOT's coming to town to do things for us or
Yeah.
Metro or whatever.
Right, because sometimes if we can really drum up and get people excited and have a meeting. Steve?
Must be 10 years ago now that the CIC sponsored and held emergency preparedness meetings. We had a whole session of them, and they were well attended, over 100 people per session. So
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's been something that's been brought up at Gaffney Lane. People want to learn about.
standalone presentations away from a meeting seems to work. If Park Place gets a meeting, it's because there's land use that is not a popular.
Right. And I think that would be great if the CIC, we could sponsor things. Because people, when you say, well, what is it? If it's just this meeting Monday nights, well, then we can just cancel that right now because that's not our goal. Our goal is, the CIC is not about this meeting on Monday nights. The CIC is about garnering relationships within the city and passing information back and forth, learning about land use, yes. All of those things. It's not just about this Monday night meeting. So I think it'd be great if we could push ourselves back up and get excited, Christina.
So, you'll have a new reallocation of money for your postcards this next biennium. We can work with, our city recorder to see what kind of speakers can come out of that. But that is some of that conversation of neighbor associations looking at what their postcard budget is, if there is any additional money, and if that could potentially be used for like CIC sponsored or neighborhood sponsored kind of joint speakers. So that's an option.
But sometimes you wouldn't even need to send out a postcard and you wouldn't need to pay a speaker. If it's exciting enough, and you just get flyers and, we just, come down here and use your printer. You have a good printing budget, Tony? Okay. So I think we can revitalize this then. I think we can, and so if you're interested in any of those three things, being on the committee that plans and is in charge of the booths at different activities, the committee that's putting a static display with some kind of a flyer in it, and then the committee to do some outreach and pull together maybe some sponsored activities or whatever. Then Roy is over the venues and Vern is over the joint meetings, if you will, and I'm over the static displays. And so if you're interested in any of those and want to join those committees, then let one of us know and we'll get you added on and we'll actually get moving on that. Okay. Then, talking about, so one of our goals is to increase attendance at our meetings, right? I think all of us, even at a great meeting, when you look at the numbers compared to how many postcards you sent out, it's a little stifling. And so one of the thoughts that I was having is we've had this conversation, and it's not just the CIC, any group is having this problem. Even the chamber here, when he was saying that the dynamics have changed. And so we continue to talk about how can we get more people to come to us, and I'm wondering, why aren't we going out to them more? You know, we ask them to come to a meeting, and that might not even be feasible. Not everybody can come to a meeting. And so are we really looking at ways to get the information out there other than just at the meeting? It's important to have our meetings, but we got to also help those that can't come get that same information. And one of the things that I was thinking of, I was like, well, where do people go in Oregon City? I mean, where do you run into the most people, or where do you hear people talking about? You know, Fred Meyer's, Dutch Brothers. I mean, really, it's like those Starbucks, whatever. That's, people are out and about in the community. Maybe there's a way for us to reach out to them there and have the same type of a dialogue. Do you know what neighborhood you live in? Not just at an event. Maybe we can go somewhere and be somewhere, not just at a sponsored event. To let people see, and not just us as the CIC, but neighborhood, we can involve the neighborhood chairs and secretary, or maybe just somebody from the neighborhood that's wants to be out there. You know, some neighborhoods have a different dynamic than others. In my neighborhood, it's usually just me and the secretary that will get things done. But every once in a while, we'll get somebody excited, and maybe if we're doing something different. So, that's a thought.
If we had, like candidates do at the door of Fred Meyer's passing things out, ask them, do you have any concerns or changes that you'd like to see made in Oregon City? You know, something. And then have them say, well, that's something that needs to be brought up at your neighborhood association, and maybe say it's something we'll try to discuss at the next CIC meeting.
That's a great idea. Even at National Night Out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another thought I had was, how many times in your just discussions with people do you mention your neighborhood or the citizen involvement? You know, if we had, not necessarily a business card, but something about that size, because I don't know about you, but I don't carry around a purse big enough to have 5 of these at all times that aren't gonna be squished and just a mess. But if I had 5 little things the size of a business card that I could put in my wallet, then and it doesn't have to, I was thinking it wouldn't have to be name specific, it could be something I don't know exactly what it would look like, it would be something we'd have to work out that involves neighborhoods and the CIC, but something that then on the back you could write your name if it was in your neighborhood, or if you said, oh, that's in so-and-so's neighborhood, just something to help us as we're out and about. Again, trying to break this mold of that our only rules are here on Monday nights. So that's a thought I had. Why are you laughing at me?
Because where I work,
Uh-huh.
if they have a return address from Oregon City and I have a couple minutes, I talk to them about it.
See, would it be helpful to have something?
Oh, yeah, I would have room for those.
There
I
you
have
go.
a drawer. But yeah, no, my boss gets mad at me all the time. Why are you talking to them? Because it's important.
Yeah, don't want to get anybody in trouble with their
Yeah.
bosses.
Constantly talking to people about Oregon City, about the community associations, how important it is, and if they've got something to say, go. That's
Yeah.
where you can say it. Yeah,
Or just reach out.
yeah.
There's always a chamber of commerce, you know, putting something out and have them distribute it.
Right.
And I have an advantage right now because of the Beaver Creek project or Caulfield. So everybody wants to, so you start talking, it's, well, I know this is happening, this is what they talk about this meeting, and so people are, I'm getting information out because everyone wants to know what's gonna happen over there. And nobody's been in the meetings, they have no idea, will show up, but it's just the fact that I can still pass information on. So that's really livened up our neighborhood.
Then are you seeing any of those people come to your meetings? Or, no?
No, it's like for answers,
I
good
know.
answers, they're happy, I think, but that's not.
Yeah.
And the biggest problem we've had the last couple of meetings, we had on Beaver Creek project, the last one, it lasted too long.
Yes.
We have people walking out the door.
Yeah, and so,
And they're not gonna come back, and so we really have to really timeline those, because we've really had a problem in Coffeyville with.
that is
right
true.
there.
That is true. Planning your agenda is a big thing. And if that's a concern, that might be a topic we can have for, at a CIC meeting if we wanted to. We could have a topic on our meeting agenda.
We've tried to decrease our time for a meeting to an hour so that people have time to socialize afterwards. Last time it wasn't the case because we had all the school board members. But normally, we're trying to keep our meetings within an hour.
And that helps.
Yes, a lot, like at least everybody stays.
Yeah. Because you're right, the closer it gets to 8:30, and then if you're pushing past that, people are walking out and you've lost them.
It hurts.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe one thing we can do we can create an easier link to the neighborhood association webpage on the city one. So, you have all of the neighborhoods, so we could work to reduce the neighborhood association link to a smaller.
Well, and that's what I
one.
thought too, if you had a card and it had that on there, you can say, you go here and you click, and you'll click on this neighborhood, you write down the neighborhood.
Yeah, so I
That
can
would be
work
great
with
to
you
have.
on making it shorter.
So those are great thoughts on increasing attendance, getting the meeting, making sure your timeline is synced. And, yeah. And I know that in my neighborhood, we have just I think she calls it chair updates or something, I don't know, but I'm telling them what we learn here. And we try to send out emails too. People, like John said, they just want to know what's going on. And then if it's a hot topic, they'll ask questions, or they're just thankful to know because, everybody kind of wants to know just randomly what's going on. That's why I love having Public Works here, because everybody wants to know, when's our road gonna be worked on, or what are they doing over there on Warner Parrott? What are they doing? And I like, this month, there was, in that update you sent, it talks about Warner Parrott and a couple other places where there's projects going on, if people ask. And this month, over by OC Point where FedEx, there's been a strip of that road torn up for a long time with those awful plates. And Josh reached out to Gaffney Lane and said, hey, we're gonna be that's finally coming to an end, we're filling it in. We're not gonna make it beautiful because we're gonna be doing the Malala Road improvement, but we'll make it it's not gonna be ka-clunk, And so we sent that out to our neighborhoods and it was perfect. They were so happy to just know somebody cared enough to pass on the information instead of just paving it, because they weren't obligated to tell us, but I thought it was a great reach out. Okay, now to our least favorite topic is inactive neighborhood associations. And I had a question. I was looking, so right now we have Hazel Grove Westling Farms has been completely inactive for quite some time. They were meeting with South End. Fairly recently, the South End chair moved. He's still in Oregon City, but he's no longer in that neighborhood, and so they were unable to come up with a chair, and so they declared themselves inactive. They're in the process of maybe finding someone to be interim, but it's still kind of iffy. And so I was looking at the map to say, oh, I wonder who could invite them to be their nearby neighbors. Well, their nearby neighbors are Rivercrest, Tower Vista, Hazel Grove, Westland Farms, and Keneva. And so I wondered, Vern, how close are you to branching out on your own? Or do you think you're gonna forever be Roy's partner in crime and?
An excellent question. The timing is great in that our steering committee tomorrow night, that can be a topic. We've been doing this 2-3 years on a handshake. I don't know if it's who it's beneficial to the most, or, do we want to do this, or is it the right time? So I think your timing is great.
And maybe you can ask them, and I'm proposing this to everybody, who's willing to, now that South End, even if they are able to pull themselves up, they're not going to be able to carry Hazel Grove Westland Farm. And so is there, maybe you can ask your Tower Vista
Yeah,
neighborhood.
that's,
Maybe you could-
geographic neighbors make sense.
Yeah, because I was like, well, I'll invite them to Gaffney Lane, and I started looking at the map, and it's, well, why they'd be more than welcome, it's 3 or 4 over. I'll be glad to do it if we need to, but it'd be great if, and I didn't know, obviously Karen's not here tonight,
I
to ask her
will
group
get
and-
back to you shortly.
Hey, Amy. I think our goal should be to have an answer for National Night Out. Because if you have people showing up and asking, it's gonna look bad if we say, well, you're in this neighborhood, but they're not meeting, or they're not organized or anything like that. So if we could put a goal on it to see
Well, if we
can
know
get
if
somebody
they come
talking.
back at the next meeting with an answer of, are you willing to vote, if you're ready to go out or not, and then if you are you willing to take on
1, 2, or
Hazel Grove?
3 neighborhoods.
Western Farm. Yeah. So by the next meeting,
Yeah, I mean, to me, I'm sorry, I just need 2 weeks to make sure that I can update anything, so, I mean, it'd be nice to know by the new meeting, next meeting, but if it's
and don't.
mid-July,
yeah,
that's
and
okay
You
too.
can reach out to me offline. Rita?
I think it might be nice to explain to the areas that withdrew that the meetings are more similar to what they were a few years ago, and that the bylaws are clarified, available to be shared. And I think that might get people to become interested again in meeting with the group.
And I know that years ago when Gaffney Lane was inactive and Tower Vista was inactive, the CIC actually had people come from the CIC. They sent out the postcards and then they ran the meeting. But because the city has taken on this group and we're part of the city and they're not, I don't know if we're still able to do that. Are we still as because is that even an option? That we could run a meeting for them and try to drum up a chair? And I know William Gifford pretty much just, drove me to the front of the room and said, hey, you want Amy to be the chair? And they, oh, yeah. And
Been paying for
I've
it.
been paying for it ever since. I love it. So I don't know if that's an option. And I don't know who to ask.
It wouldn't be an issue. I mean, it's a volunteer, you're volunteering to essentially chair their meetings to try to get them in until they can.
We have a citizen
An
comment.
historical
Bob, would
perspective.
you like to citizen comment come up to the, state your name and introduce yourself to those.
My name is
online.
Bob LaSalle. I live in Oregon City, and just quickly, you might try to find out if any of the city commissioners live in any of the inactive neighborhoods and ask for their help.
Well, I happen to know one does.
He looked at me when he said that.
He looked at you, but Rachel's in my neighborhood.
I know, I said Gaffney Lane.
So, okay, well, think about this at our next so we'll, by the next meeting, hopefully before then,
Oh, yeah.
we'll
I'll
know.
get back
And
to you.
then I'll send out we can send out a thing too to see if anybody would be interested in helping to actually go out and reactivate some of these neighborhoods like they have done in the past. Because that's the best way to do it, is to just go out there and, hey, you guys need a chair, here's why, it's great, and spin it positively, and then it'll just snowball. Carla?
Isn't South End, John McLaughlin's elementary school, or isn't that part of South End? Or that's Rivercrest?
No, John McLaughlin, I think it's Wesson Farm.
Okay, because it'd be interesting to reach out to those group of parents somehow. Hey, you have a neighborhood association, this is the impact, would you like to be involved? Because otherwise, I never knew before, I had no idea.
Oh, me either.
Yeah,
The only reason I went to the meeting is Fred Meyer was doing something, and that sparked my interest. Yeah.
Now, the meeting next month is going to be the 1st of July. Will that happen?
Oh, that was another question that we're going to have. Some years, we've not had a meeting in July because not enough people were gonna be in town, and then some years we have had a meeting. So can we see by a raise of hands if you know for sure that you could be here July 1st at a meeting? Okay, I think then it's worth
I
it.
do believe that we have enough business that it would be nice to
Yeah.
have.
Okay.
Well, that's what I was
But
asking.
it was, I was,
To get the
yep,
stuff, and I thought,
yep.
oh,
Yeah, that's okay, because I had that same question
sorry.
to have. So, yeah, by then we can find out if there are people willing to, I'm willing to go out and help. And we wouldn't be, you're not in charge, you're just trying to, maybe you run the meeting, but it wouldn't be like we're telling them what to do, because that's not our role. Okay. Next question about inactive neighborhoods is Two Rivers. I wasn't.
They're not really inactive.
Let me finish. When I watched the video for the April meeting, you announced that the meeting was going to be at the apartment complex. The postcards that were to be sent out announced that it would be at the River Shore. I reached out to the chair and their secretary any way possible I could, and I never got a response. I was unable to get a response. I have been trying ever since. One time I had a response about, they had a developer that wants to come to their July meeting. And only after I got involved, finally we got a response from their secretary. So while they've not been sending out postcards until that April one, for 2 years. But the hope was with the Cove, now they'll become active. But as part of our actual CIC rulings, we say that if a member hasn't come in 3 months, we can recommend to the city commission that they be removed as a CIC liaison representative. And I'd like to propose that we do that for Brian. If he's unable to respond to anything from the CIC, then I think he needs to be removed. And then they can, hopefully at their next meeting, they can get either someone else, or, if he's just too busy, I don't know. But I think we need to take some action there as far as a representative, because it's not helping them, and there might be somebody that wants to be interested. So I can't put a motion out, but somebody else can, and would like to have some dialogue about that.
I'll move that they remove Brian from the CAC,
Okay, and a
from
second?
Two Rivers because of problems.
Do I hear a second?
One second.
Okay.
So my recommendation, though, is since it's not really a noticed opportunity and I haven't had a chance to let him know
Doesn't
it.
need to be.
Oh, I know. It'd be nice
I'm
to.
done, Christina.
Okay.
This is not a new thing. He can come to the city commission meeting that it's at if he wants to contest.
Okay, I'll work with Tony.
Because that's what it is. It asks that we can send a letter to have them be removed for misconduct or non-performance of duty. So we've had a motion. Do we have any other discussion about it? Okay, we need to take a vote. Do you call that vote, or do we?
I do, can I actually?
Yeah.
Sorry. So this is one vote per neighbor association, so the primary votes. And this is a notice to the city commission recommending removal of an appointed CSC liaison
For non-performance.
for not, and for request for a new appointment. Okay. Kenema Neighborhood Association?
I'm gonna vote not to send the letter.
Obviously Two Rivers, no. Gaffney Lane?
Aye.
Park Place?
No.
Hillendale?
Aye.
Tower Vista?
Aye.
McLaughlin?
Aye.
Rivercrest? And Berkeley Hills?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay, did we cover all of the work plan? So where you've got Steve's helping be a co-lead for
As soon as I get him some information.
Farmers Market. So we've been invited to the Health and Safety Fair. If you haven't been to this, this is a lot of fun. The fire department sets up, they have a trailer, they do a burn. They've got Jaws of Life, they break into a car, they give away free prizes and usually bikes and helmets. And there's all kinds of vendors there that, about health and safety. So, in the past, we weren't health and safety, but it was just a place, it's a place to be where people are. So, it's Saturday, September 14th, and it's in the parking lot of the Danielson's Hilltop. So it's usually over by, in between where Safeway, the theater, and up towards the police station and Papa Murphy's. It's usually in that area of the parking lot. They block it off, and then they have booths set up and fire trucks and police cars.
What's the hours?
So September, 14th, but I don't see the times on here.
Typically.
It was early, it
about
seemed, wasn't it 10 to 2 or something like that?
There may be more information, there's a link to sign up, there may be more
Right.
details on the link.
So what we've done in the past, we did, again, kind of like National Night Out, we did 2 different groups. One was there to set up, one was there to take down. I don't know if we would want to, at National Night Out, we usually share with Public Works, so they bring all of the stuff. For the safety fair, we usually would just have somebody go pick it up. I don't know if Public Works wants to have a booth, and, you know, it'd be great if we could get them to bring some of those stickers for the garbage cans if they still had some. I mean, that's a safety thing. Maybe we could drum up somebody who's there. Is this, I guess the first question is there enough people, would anybody be willing to come help?
Yeah, I'd help.
I'd help.
Okay? You have to work, Bob?
I can provide the garbage can stickers.
Oh, you can get a hold of those from the TAC. Okay.
And I can ask if PW is going, and so if we need to, we can piggyback on a tent, or if we have to
Let's invite them to come with us.
I like it.
I think that's fun. Okay, so, Saturday the 14th, I should have looked that up. Maybe you guys could go home and check your calendars, get back to Christina with this week, and let her know if, and that way we'll know if we have enough people to sign up.
Well, if everyone can raise their hand again, right here, I can write down the names.
Roy and Carla knew for sure that they could be there, and Denise.
And I saw Roy and Steve.
I should have brought my calendar.
Okay.
Wife just said I could go.
Oh, Steve's going.
She's
important.
in,
I will have this update in my update email.
Okay. Oh, wait, Steve was with Farmers Market, right? Not National Night Out.
Yeah,
That's
it
what
was
gonna be.
farmers.
Okay. All right, and you'll get back, we'll find out about signing up for those. I've had more people talking about going to those, so maybe that would be a great thing. Can you pass that back? Okay. All right, anything else about our work plan to activate, reactivate, boost? Okay. All right, then it appears we are at roundtable. And we always start over here, so I'm gonna start with Commissioner Lyle Smith this time.
Well, I don't know that I have too much with the email that Christina sent out this afternoon. So if you haven't seen it, it's a fairly lengthy email that kind of goes over a whole bunch of stuff that I would normally announce if that email hadn't gone out. So she's stealing my thunder. But that's okay. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but that email kind of covered everything that I was thinking.
She says, go for it,
Yeah.
Tony.
Tony can talk about the budget.
Any questions for commissioners?
Any questions for Commissioner? Okay.
We're busy.
They are very busy, and I would like to encourage you to, when you get the links that say that there's a meeting, there was a meeting of the Urban Renewal Commission, and it was talking about sanitary storm drains, and it really affects the Rivercrest and McLaughlin neighborhood, and I was surprised by how much this is potentially has an impact, and the citizens probably want to be aware of that.
Yeah, so that was
Something
a
to-
city commission work session.
Was it a city commission work session? I thought it was oh yeah, you're right, not urban renewal.
Not urban renewal.
Sorry, too many meetings I've been to.
That's right,
You're
it was a work
City
session.
commission work session.
And it's recorded and it's a good meeting. It was
Yeah.
very informative presentation.
Potential
And,
cost to homeowners, so. something you
Yeah,
might-
and no
just to be
decision was
aware of.
made. I guess I want to be clear about that. There was no decision that was made.
Oh,
and
no, it's
just
early
some-
in the planning.
Just some ideas thrown out there of what the options are for the city commission to decide on regarding replacement of the sewer issues. We did have an urban renewal special meeting. I would say it's kind of a special meeting, ended up being a regular meeting, but it was at the request of several city commissioners that we hold this meeting. And that was last week. Yes,
Last
it was
Wednesday.
last week. So it kind of sprung up kind of quick, but it was kind of everything you want to know about urban renewal. We were just kind of, it was almost like a work session where we were trying to get questions answered. But how does urban renewal, not quite how does urban renewal work, but what are our options? What would happen if we closed it down? How much debt is there? Just kind of went through a whole series of questions. So it was a really informative meeting about urban renewal in general. And again, that was another meeting, kind of like a work session where we were trying to get everybody up to speed and think about what our options are, particularly considering the vote of 2016, and how do we respond to that, and the legal cases surrounding urban renewal in the city. So it's kind of a hot button topic in the city. So anyway, there's lots of questions and answers in that meeting, which was last week. So. And
So
Steve's on
Good
that.
to encourage our people
And
and
we did
ourselves to
approve the
watch.
budget.
The budget committee recommended approval.
And
To the city.
So that'll be,
renewal,
Hasn't.
that'll be coming at the second meeting in June for official adoption. Both the budget committee for the urban renewal district as well as the city commission went through the budget committee process so far.
Okay. Now you go, Tony.
So I'll just continue on that. So the city commission, so we had our budget committee. It's made up of the city commissioners as well as 5 representatives from the city, 5 citizens. So it went through that process. Essentially that builds on, essentially about a 5-month process of staff preparing a budget. We go to the goals retreat session in early February with the city commission. They identify the goals and objectives, and we try to put together a budget to implement those goals and objectives. We're on a 2-year budget cycle, so we'll adopt the budget, which will go into place July 1, 2019, run through June 30th, 2021. Through that, we were able to maintain existing city services without raising taxes. You'll see incremental increases related to indexing for utility rates, PMUF, payment maintenance utility fee, police utility fee. as well as some additional projects. So we'll have system development charge, parks projects that'll be in the planning and development stage, as well as some additional general fund money that we were able to put together specifically for Ladderette Park in the McLaughlin neighborhood. And get that project moving forward. We were also able to fund 3 additional full-time equivalent positions. One would be a parks maintenance utility worker. One would be a facilities worker. So for all of the facilities that we have in the city, we have one person who is responsible for all those facilities. We're able to backfill that position, and then we added a traffic enforcement sergeant position. So we'll take that team to 4 for traffic enforcement. So overall, it really is kind of a hold the line budget moving forward. And then for urban renewal, once again, put together a budget that did not identify any specific projects. There would be reimbursement to the general fund for expenses that were paid on behalf of the district by the city's general fund. So remember that urban renewal is a separate entity in and of itself versus the city. Because of the ballot measure that was passed, the budget that we're currently operating on, so the one that was adopted about almost 2 years ago, included no expenditures other than required debt payment and maintenance of our facilities that we own by the district. So we own some rental properties, the Amtrak facility that's down on Washington. Over the last 2 years, there have been incurred expenses that we paid for out of the city's general fund while we were litigating certain issues related to how the tax increment financing of the district can be spent. So getting a little down in the weeds, but essentially once again, it's a hold the line urban renewal budget that does not identify funding for new projects until the Urban Renewal Commission can kind of have this conversation amongst themselves and with the community on how best to move forward with the district. Other than that, hopefully you will pass along kind of those dates of events that are coming up to those of you in your neighborhood associations. But two big ones, June 20th, 7 p.m., Mount Pleasant School Open House. So that'll be the kickoff for moving into the deconstruction of that facility and the new police court facility on that property. And then August 24th, celebration, 175th celebration down at the end of the Oregon Trail. So that's all I have. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
I don't know if you know, but Chief Band did say they're going to be creating some type of an area where it would be safe for people to congregate to watch some of the happenings as they tear down and build, because I know that's, people will be very interested, and there was concern that they'd just be hanging out. So they are gonna create a little safe area, and I thought that was nice of them to do that. Okay, Christina, do you have anything?
I have 2 things. Beaver Creek Road concept plan. There's a presentation to the city commission at their work session this next Tuesday, the 11th. I don't know if there's a lot of time for questions, but as always, it'll be available online, streaming video, and we're gonna have some up-to-date information. So it's a good resource when people are wondering what's going on. Public hearings for that will be later in the summer, in early fall. Back to the Mount Pleasant open house, we're also collecting kind of historical information or photos or ephemera of paper, like a band concert. If you went to Mount Pleasant or some of your family went to Mount Pleasant and you have kind of pictures or things that show the history of things that happened, we are looking at maybe scanning those and having them in our collection. So at the open house, we're gonna have kind of a place where you can record your memories or write down your memories of going to Mount Pleasant, either as a parent or a kid. And please do bring, if you have that, weird 1970s, band concert, program, thank you, I can't speak. Bring it, we'll scan it.
Could you, is that out there?
I think we're about to start that piece, so this is just.
Okay, I was gonna say,
publishing in
could you
social
send that
media.
so we could send it to our
Yeah, and I
neighbors?
think I'm working with the police, they're gonna have an email, so even you can scan it yourself over this next kind of summer and fall.
fun.
And hopefully we'll just kind of keep collecting this kind of living memory of Mount Pleasant.
What year was that school built?
It was in the 30s.
Well, there was,
Okay.
it's been.
Well, yes, there was
rebuilt.
one previous before, and that one was demolished, and then the one we have here. And then there was been additions added over the years.
That way we know what age person to ask. Thank you.
Sure. So I think I gave you most of the other updates over my liaison presentation, but I will find out more about National Night Out. I'll let everyone know what I hear. I will ask the police department to tell us more about what they're looking for neighborhood associations, and I'll work with Tony on the process to take this vote that you all did this evening. And
We need a letter that I sign.
yeah, or just, I'll have to figure out what the, which meeting it goes on, and I'll let, Two Rivers know and have them have the ability to comment. And really just asking to remove, the current, liaison, and then a request to, fill it with somebody else is the first, I think, piece of and so I don't know the process, so I will go.
It's never been done before.
Never been done, so I'm sure there's a process somewhere, so we'll figure out what the process is.
I'm sure the other boards and commissions have had some.
Yeah,
Okay, anything else?
that's all I have right now.
Okay, Denise?
So our meeting is this Thursday, but we did have an event, last month. We did a cake auction, and it was Let Them Eat Cake.
Can you grab your microphone? Pull it closer to you.
So we did another fundraiser for the Buena Vista Clubhouse. We sold cakes by auction or by the slice, and we made $860 for this. It's going to the clubhouse to provide electricity. And our next steering committee meeting is this Thursday. I have no other news.
Rita, do you have any?
Well, I don't know how much has happened before, but you're aware of the restoration of Laurette Park? Yeah, okay. And then, of course, we'll be selling snow cones at concerts in the park, as we usually do. So it's a good way for us to get to see everybody in the whole big neighborhoods. It's wonderful.
That's fun. Okay, last month, I know it came up here, and I think there's a little bit of confusion. We had a land use issue come up from Gaffney Lane, and the developer had come to our neighborhood like 3 years ago to do the presentation. And as I got to looking, there was another one I found that was like 5 years. So it was a concern to me that a lot happens in that amount of time, and I was surprised that there wasn't some kind of a time period. So because I wasn't able to come here and there was some confusion, I just went as myself as a person to a city commission meeting and brought it up as a concern, and the commissioners did recognize that. They were surprised too that there wasn't a timeline. So the city commission has asked staff to put in this current code update that 1 year, so the neighborhood, when they come, you send a copy of your sign-in sheet and then something saying that you came and whatever was talked about, and that will be valid for a year. And so they need to have their application in within that year, and it kind of goes along with the pre-app and some of the other requirements. A year was kind of what they have, or else they need to come in for a new pre-app, right? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's kind of the same thing. So if somebody comes and they give a presentation and that just doesn't happen for whatever reason, and 3 years later they want to relook at the project, they would need to come back to the neighborhood. So I was very pleased to have that, and I don't know how we missed that all along. So Gaffney Lane, we canceled our May meeting. We had some things fall through. We did have a steering committee meeting. We're having some discussion with Public Works over the Malala Avenue streetscape project. We've been working with them for years with some great dialogue back and forth. And when the 30% plan came out, all of the things that we have been discussing, not all, but a big majority, were just knocked out. And so we were surprised. We didn't have any forewarning. So we've been going back and forth with them. We met as a steering committee and we put together a letter that we presented to them, and the city commission and asking for some specifics. They were quoting some figures that they were using as some of their studies, and we were just asking for some more information and about various things. We are still waiting to hear back from them. I think the next meeting, I thought the next meeting was going to be in June, the next open house, but maybe I'm wrong. So I'm a little surprised we haven't heard back from Public Works for our meeting, so we're still working on that. We were notified from Josh that we've been having issues over by the school, by Gaffney Lane School. If you've ever driven down Gaffney Lane, all of a sudden the road, there's this big striped red, looks like pallet, I don't know what you call that thing, but the road is really wonky and there's no sidewalk connection there. And a few years ago, they had the funding and they were going to do it, but there was some right-of-way issues and then some other issues about putting, lines or whatnot, and so it wasn't able to happen, but it's being resurrected. And so Josh reached out to our neighborhood to let us know that they're resurrecting that project, and hopefully we'll be able to get some things done there, so we're pretty excited about that. We will have a steering committee meeting next week to plan our July meeting. I think that's what's going on in Gaffney Lane. Oh, I did take a tour of the Public Works building, because of Gaffney Lane, we're very excited. Public Works will be coming to our neighborhood, and some really exciting things happening in the next couple of years to get that building hopefully up and running. So Vance is working on that. He's the Public Works Assistant Manager, and it's pretty exciting. Steve?
So Park Place held a general meeting on the May 20th, and we re-elected our officers and stayed the course. Our next meeting is June 17th, is a steering committee meeting. Other than that, we have applied for a Metro Enhancement Grant partnered with the Parks Department of the city to refurbish Park Place play structure that was damaged. So we'll find out how that goes in a couple of weeks.
Which grant was that? Which grant?
Metro Enhancement.
We are,
Janice.
He wasn't at the meeting, at a church meeting.
we're having a steering meeting, not tomorrow, but the Tuesday after. And we're going to be discussing planning our neighborhood picnic. We are also, issues have been coming up. People have been concerned about safety because of Pearl Street. That John Lewis is going to come to our meeting in July. It's July 8th, I think, if my memory serves me right. But we're going to have him come and speak about, particularly a lot of people are interested in Barclay Hills Drive, the crosswalk there. It's late at night, all along Walla. It's hard to see, especially through Barclay Hills. So, and other than that, we're trying to get volunteers for our picnic and kind of get creative ideas for that to build it up. And I'm not quite sure, we haven't had any land use presented to us yet, so.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. John?
Well, we finally had a meeting last Wednesday, in a few months. We had Officer Mike Day, he's a liaison for the homeless. So he was in and talked about some of the things and grants he's gotten, things that are happening. So at least, have an idea what's happening in that end. A couple of people in our group are real estate agents, which is what real estate's doing in our neighborhood and the average cost of the house in our neighborhood and what's going on. And interesting, we had a lady from Metro Portland Home Builders Association, and an actual contractor, going over the costs of building, and the other extra costs you don't look at and why the costs are so high. I think talking about maybe an average house being $550,000 to build anywhere in Oregon City, which sounds pretty obscene, but it's just things are happening. So it's an interesting meeting. A lot of information, just understanding what's happening. And because of those costs, it's hard to build starter homes because those costs to get it on, the infrastructure costs like that. So it's hard to build starter homes. So that's part of the reason we have in this neighborhood, we don't have starter homes anymore. We don't have a place where people can start. With all the industry coming in and everything, that makes it really hard that kids go to school, they go to work, and they have to go live somewhere else. We can't keep them in Oregon City, but that's one of the concerns we had.
Okay, Linda?
Kenema met, we had our steering committee, and we planned our meeting for July, and we're working on a picnic and what we'll be doing for the National Night Out. But the Kenema rep, who had been to the chief's meeting, was all excited. She had been to the meeting, within the last week or so, and listened to what they want to do, for the new police station. And, they wanted to do something for Officer Levitt. They weren't for sure if they're going to have the money. They wanted to bronze his boots. And our rep said, go ahead and do it. Don't worry about the money. So I don't know if she volunteered Kenema for all of it. But I don't know what it would cost. It's been some time since my babies were little, but it was like $30. I mean, the difference was huge. But anyway, then maybe that's something that we could work together as neighborhoods as well, put in money to have that done. So that seemed like a very worthwhile thing to do.
Yeah, if your neighborhood is, have your chair, reach out to our chairs and.
And have a fundraiser or, yeah, so we'll be talking about that at our meeting here, so what can we do? It just seemed like, yeah, do it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Lynn?
Pass? Pass.
Pardon my time.
All right,
Right.
we will have our next steering committee meeting tomorrow night, which we will discuss with Vern, whether he's ready to branch off and spread his wings there, I guess, leave us behind. And then we have our next general meeting is on July 2nd, and that one will be held at Hillendale Park at 6:30. We do that in our July meetings each year, have watermelon and cookies and stuff. But other than that, there's not a lot going on in our neighborhood. We haven't had any land use issues. It's very quiet right now.
That's inspiring. I think I'm gonna propose a picnic for our July meeting, because I think that's a great idea. That's a great idea. Okay, anything else that anyone has? And we are adjourned. Remember to email Christina if you can come do the safety fair this week.
And other neighborhood meetings if you haven't signed up yet.
Yeah.